So the way we're gonna get into a Russian dip now, like I said, I'm gonna break down the movement for you. Dip support, down into a dip, but instead of coming up now what we're gonna do is we're gonna lean our weight back. Feet come up, a lot more core involvement.
I'm just killing time, waiting.
I'm just killing time. This whole time. Play this at my funeral.
I don't need no more than I already
Steezy.
got.
How many issues I'm swimming through, fishing around for the truth. This is living proof. Now I don't swim, but I...
What's going on, YouTube? You're back with the Prez. We're in Juniper Park today, and today's video I'm going to be teaching you guys 3 calisthenic exercises that are often underutilized. These are more on the advanced scale of training, but they're not movements that are unachievable by anybody, right? Anybody can attain these movements. All you got to do is practice some basics, and eventually you're going to have to get to these progressions in order to continue to make progress. Now, always, guys, the way you manipulate your body through space with calisthenics, that's how you make movements harder, right? That's how we progress without having to add load to our body. If you guys recently watched the last video, I put out a whole body weight series called the Strong Blueprint, when it's a full 3-month program of only body weight training. You need no vests, no weight belts, no external weight. Everything's gonna be based on leverages and progressing your body through space over 3 phases, over 3 months, getting you from literally frail to jacked, to have you looking like a superhero without having to touch anything. All you need is your body and some bars. So the 3 movements I'm gonna be teaching you guys today, we're gonna be including 1 pull movement, 1 push movement, and 1 core exercise. Because remember, guys, in order to progress in calisthenics, the more advanced exercise, you gotta have a strong core. Now, the first exercise we're gonna get to is gonna be our pulling exercise. This movement is often neglected. I very rarely see anybody doing this variation of a pull, but it's also gonna have one of the best bangs for your bucks, for muscle building. Very often, all we do in calisthenics is vertical pulling, whether it's a pull-up, a chin-up, a neutral grip pull. All we really focus on, especially in tournaments and competition and basics, is just pulling in that vertical plane of motion. Excellent exercise, you'll build an amazing physique just doing that, but you're also gonna neglect a little bit of the posterior chain. Remember, when you're doing vertical pulling, you're pretty much gonna be predominantly working that V taper of the back, right? Making you look wider from the shoulders down to the waist. That's how you're gonna build wide lats, right? Any type of vertical pulling movement. And if you're in the gym, lat pull downs, movements like that are gonna be really focused on building the lats more wide. But what we often neglect in calisthenic is a rowing variation, which is gonna add thickness to our back, right? You'll see people doing basic rows when their feet are on the floor and they're pulling chest to the bar. Yes, that's easy. That's a very easy progression, and you're not gonna get much muscle building potential off of that, because due to the fact that the leverage isn't that much, and you can pretty much rep them out pretty high reps unless you're an extreme beginner. So the first exercise I'm going to teach you guys is going to be a rowing variation. I'm going to be showing you guys the more advanced variation as well as the easier variation. So let's get to it. So this first exercise is going to be a tucked rowing variation. I'm going to first demonstrate the advanced variation where our hips are more open, and then I'll show you a regression where we close our hips to make the movement a little easier. This is going to be an excellent movement, again, for building that thickness of the back, as well as building more muscle and increasing your overall pulling strength. The stronger you are at this movement and the more you can rep it out, the more translation over it's going to have to doing regular body weight pull-ups and chin-ups and movements of that nature. So the first exercise, like I said, is going to be an advanced tucked row, where we're going to keep our hips open. So look, guys, we're going to start in a complete dead hang. We're gonna bring our knees up so we're in a tucked hang, and then all we're gonna do, we're gonna pull this bar down until our body is now perpendicular or horizontal to the floor. Now we're gonna pull back down. Now, if you guys are gonna notice, my legs are in front of the bar, meaning I'm keeping my hips open, and I'm working on pulling my stomach or my navel to the bar, right? I don't have that full range of motion. I don't have that advanced pull strength yet. But over time, if I practice this movement more and more, I would start being able to pull almost to my full stomach, which is going to have a great translation over to more advanced movements like front lever pull-ups when you're holding isometrics, right? Now, the way we regress this exercise is we decrease the leverage of our body by tucking our legs in more and bringing our knees closer to the chest. So the first variation you guys would have saw, my feet or my knees are in front of the bar. Now look, I'm tucking my knees all the way to my chest. So when I pull, my shins hit the bar. It's going to decrease the range of motion as well as make it a little less core involvement. But over time, as you build up to sets of 10 reps in that more easier variation, your core is going to get stronger in general, and you're going to be able to open up your hips more and more, and you're going to be able to focus more on that advanced pulling. We're focusing on pulling to our stomach as opposed to having our shins blocking that range of motion. So the first exercise you guys got to start practicing to build up strength for is these advanced tuck rowing movements. Get good at these and I guarantee you're going to build a thicker, stronger back. Let's move on to our push exercise. All right, so the second exercise, like I mentioned, is going to be a push movement. This is going to really focus on our chest as well as our front delts. This movement right here is going to have a great translation over to doing more and more regular body weight dips as well as push-ups, but it's also going to have a great translation over to more advanced movements like the handstand push-up and planche training. This movement is going to be called a Russian dip. You guys have seen me demonstrate what's called Bulgarian dips on the rings, which are more extreme variations of dips that keep the chest under more tension. These Russian dips are going to do almost the same thing, as well as place some more stress on the front delt and overall increase our overall pushing strength from our chest and shoulders. So a Russian dip, I'm going to break it down initially into different parts, and I'm going to slow the movement down. Then I'm going to show you how it's supposed to look as you're repping it out. So a regular dip, guys, like always, remember, dip support, down, up, right? Remember, whole body goes down through that range of motion. We're increasing our shoulder extension and range of motion the deeper we can dip. And we're not doing dips like this, right? We're not just hinging. That's not a dip, right? So the way we're going to get into a Russian dip now, like I said, I'm going to break down the movement for you. Dip support, down into a dip. But instead of coming up now what we're going to do is we're going to lean our weight back. Feet come up, a lot more core involvement. Lean back forward, lock out. So when you extend back, what we're doing is we're almost stretching the chest a little further, as well as putting some stress on the front delt, activating the core, getting our body more fluid and more aware of where it is in space. And then when we come back from here to the front, it's going to be an extreme isometric load in the eccentric portion of the rep, right? So that chest is going to be under extreme tension when you go from here back to here, and then when you lock out, you're getting that full contraction of the chest as well as involving a lot more front delts for our pushing. So the way we rep these out fluidly, they're supposed to look like this: lock out, down, back, forward, up, down, back, forward, up, down, back, forward, up. And over time, you're going to start building a lot more core stability, shoulder stability, and you're going to feel your chest is going to start blowing up, getting stronger, your pushes are going to get stronger, your dip reps are going to increase, and you're going to start being able to build up that strength that you're going to need for more advanced movements like a handstand push-up or a tuck planche. So this is the second exercise that you guys got to start working towards in order to take your calisthenic training, your muscular development, and your repetitions to the next level. Try these Russian dips out, and let's move on to our core workout. All right, guys, and the third exercise in this series is going to be our core exercise. Nothing new. I've demonstrated this movement many times in the past. It's going to be called the dragon flag. But for some reason, I don't see many people training dragon flags. Everybody wants to learn a front lever. Everybody wants to learn a planche. Everyone wants to get into these more advanced calisthenic movements. But they don't realize it's going to take a lot of core involvement as well as core stability and being able to control your body through space and be aware of where it is. And the way that you get better at that is being stronger and stronger from the core. Remember, the core is going to be the center of your gravity. That's where your center of mass is going to be. That's where you're going to build that power in order to hold front levers, planches. Yes, the front lever is a pulling exercise, planche is a pushing exercise, but if you lack that glute and core engagement, you're never going to have a proper alignment front lever or planche. So the way we're going to build up our core in the best possible exercise, in my opinion, is going to be a dragon flag. And remember, just to show you guys one more time what a dragon flag is supposed to look like, remember, guys, you you want to have your arms as straight as possible. The more bent you are, the more bicep involvement you're getting in the exercise. So I always like to lock my arms out. Inevitably, I'm going to get a little bend from them. That's just inevitable. But we want to limit the amount of bending in the biceps that we're doing, right? So I always like to start fully locked out, and then from here, raise. In order to be able to perform those correctly throughout the whole movement, you got to keep your toes pointed straight, legs together, glutes squeezed and engaged. That's the lacking point that most people fail at in a front lever as well in a planche, right? In order to maintain that line through the hips. And that's where you're going to get that glute engagement as well as that front core strength by practicing these dragon flags. Now again, there are regressions that you guys can build up to in order to get to this dragon flag level. So if you can't do a full dragon flag yet, the best and easiest progression, which I'm going to skip a lot of them, is just practice negatives. And the way we're going to do them is we're going to start again, arms locked. But from here, we're going to come into an inverted L. So now our back's on the floor, legs are pointed straight, arms are on the bar. All we're going to do now is pike. Now we're in the top part of the lever, and I want you to control the negative down as best as you can. Reset up, inverted L, pike, squeeze the glutes, control it down. Inverted L, pike. And over time, your negative is going to be able to get slower and slower, meaning you're going to be getting stronger and stronger in that movement pattern until there comes a point when you go down into a negative and you start to hold isometrically. Once you get that isometric hold, start building up your hold time, and your dragon flag and your core strength is all going to start getting better and better. Then when you move to the bar and you start training front levers and planches, you're going to understand that core engagement and core involvement that is necessary to enable you to hold those isometric positions for time. So those are the 3 bodyweight exercises that are the most underutilized that you guys got to start practicing for now. Try the tucked rowing pull-ups. Again, it's going to help build a thicker posterior chain as opposed to a wider back, which you're going to get from doing vertical pulling, right? Focus more on those horizontal pulling movements, and you're going to build a thicker, stronger back. Then you move to your pushing exercise, and you guys want to get stronger and better at those Russian dips. Obviously, you're going to need parallel bars for this, not rings. Rings, you do Bulgarian dips. Parallel bars, you do Russian dips. Both variations place a lot more emphasis on the chest, and these Russian dips are going to place, again, a lot more emphasis on the front delt, which is going to translate over to more of that planche and handstand push-up training. And the third exercise, again, are going to be these dragon flags. Practice these 3 exercises. All 3 of them are going to involve a lot more core activation than the regular basic movements. So when you're doing pull-ups, chin-ups, yes, your core will be involved, but it's less of importance, right? You'll see people doing sloppy pull-ups where they're not in a straight line, but they can still do a pull-up, right? You'll see people doing dips where they don't really have to get much core involvement. But in order to perfect the rowing, the tucked row pull-ups, and in order to perfect those Russian dips, you're going to have a strong core, and your core is going to be active throughout that whole range of motion and through the whole movement pattern. Then we're going to finish off getting stronger and stronger core by practicing these dragon flags. I hope these 3 exercises help take you and your training to the next level. If you have any questions or comments, leave it in the comments section. I always get back to you guys. Share the video with your friends and family. Like the video, it helps the algorithm out. And again, leave a comment. I always comment back. Commenting, again, helps YouTube promote the video anymore. Like always, guys, I appreciate the support. I'm going to start bringing more and more consistent videos. I know I've been a little slacking lately on the YouTube content, but I'm going to start bringing more and more videos, hopefully 2 to 3 minimum a week from here on out. Like always, guys, peace out. BARNATURALS.
No sad story, I ain't here for a symphony, no sympathy. When I was on the bench, you wouldn't sit with me. Now I'm on the court and I'm balling, my time's coming.